Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Land Development Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Glick. If this is your first time tuning in, we have a couple different flavors of the show. What you're going to hear today is more of an interview style show where we have on someone related to the industry. We hear about their origin story and some of the projects and deals that they've been a part of in the past. And then other times you tune in, you're going to hear more of a current event show. So digging into today's episode here, I'm excited to have joining me Rane Pearson. Rane is the founder and broker at Rane Pearson Real Estate. Rane, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Ryan.
For sure. So I guess first thing out of the gate that I want to dig into is more around your journey and how you got started in real estate to begin with. Can you walk us through that process for you?
Yeah, I'll give you the elevator pitch. It started before I moved to DFW. After I graduated from Texas Tech, the degree in accounting, I moved to San Antonio. That's where I'm from originally, and I was doing corporate tax accounting for a few years. And I enjoy accounting, but I don't enjoy doing it every day. I'll say, and so I really knew it wasn't what I wanted to do forever, but I didn't know what to do next. And I was introduced to my now wife through some mutual friends, and kind of just on a whim, 4 months after we met, I moved up here. She's from Dallas, her family's from here, and her and her dad are both in the real estate industry. She works for a home builder on the new home sales side, and her dad is a master plan developer. And so I spent the first 6 months here basically as a bum living at her parents' house. Um, I got my real estate license just to learn about real estate. I didn't plan on using it, and spent the next 6 months shadowing her dad during the week. I'd go be her sales assistant on the weekends, and he had some really good advice for me. And he gave me the Dallas 500 book, which is they put it out every year. It's kind of like the 500, I guess, most influential people in DFW or in Dallas. And he told me to go cold call them, which was terrifying because I never cold called anybody before. And those first few phone calls were not very good. But over 6 months, I had called and recalled and reached out to probably over 80 CEOs and executives around DFW, mainly in the real estate industry, but various industries, really, and just to learn about who they are and how they got to where they are. And fortunately, most of them had 15 minutes for a 26-year-old kid within the next 6 months. That's kind of my pitch. And ended up meeting with probably close to 70 of them.
Wow.
And yeah, it's looking back on it is a really, really beneficial experience, kind of just through creating a network and also just learning how to talk to people without totally fumbling. So after that, I really needed a job, so I didn't have any money. And so I went to work for a home builder on the accounting side because that's all I could get a job in. And did that for, I'd say, at least 6 months. And somehow I was able to just kind of work my way into land. Our CFO had been a land guy, and he left. And there's just kind of this empty hole there for somebody to go just do it. So that's what I did. Stayed there for 3 years probably, and throughout that, learned a lot. We were a private home builder, and then we were acquired in 2018 by a public company. And I stayed on for a year after that, until I realized I'm not a very good employee for a big corporation. And at the end of 2019, I decided to start selling land. I don't think I intended to start a brokerage. I just figured I'd go try to sell land because I still had a real estate license, and I really enjoy it. And so that's kind of the beginning of the company, I guess.
Nice. Well, you and me both, as far as being employable by big companies. So I'm with you there. Yeah. So hearing you talk about kind of the early days and the role that your father-in-law played, just knowing that he was in the industry, and even your wife, played, just being in that industry as well. Aside from the advice that he gave you, cold calling these different groups of people, were there ever any other piece of advice that he shared with you in those early days of, to help you kind of direct you in the path that you were going, or was he more hands off with things?
He's definitely been a good mentor to me. We've since done deals together, and I think one of the main things I learned this from him and one or two others who I really look up to, is just be honest, and don't be afraid to take no for an answer, but don't take no for an answer if there's a yes or no. But really, it's just do the right thing, and it'll come back around and work hard. So
Yeah, nice. Well, what's kept you in the industry? So you've been in it for a little while now. Why have you stuck around the real estate industry?
man, I just love it. I really like the land side because accounting, you see the same thing every single day. I've never seen one land deal the same as another land deal. And so there's unique challenges to it. It's a really relationship oriented business. It's got a financial aspect to it that I like to think I fairly understand. Um, and really, I really think it's the people and it's the relationships, and it's kind of just getting to do something new every day.
Yeah, and so I'm definitely not an accountant myself. I'm married to a CPA, so I get to
There
experience
you go.
some of those things secondhand. And I could definitely never do that. But I imagine having that background for you comes in handy. Having your own brokerage and managing your company. Do you ever lean into some of those early learnings or things that you had on the accounting side for your business, or do you think some of that plays any type of role, or maybe not as much as I would think looking in from the outside?
I think accounting plays a really important role in every business. I don't want to say that I use it too much for my business. I have a COO who's awesome, and she handles more of the accounting side. The finance side though is really important. I use it every day,
Yeah.
and really starting out with taking the accounting background and applying that to a home building company, and then transitioning that into land and the finance side. That really helped because I understood what the builders were looking for, and so it was a lot easier to identify land to sell. And I'll back up a little bit, and I think I probably might be skipping ahead on your questions, but my brokerage almost exclusively sells large single family tracts of land to develop. We'll sell finished lots, or sometimes we'll sell a big piece of land and we'll take the out parcels and sell the commercial. But 90% of what we do is single family land development. So I learned it all, working for somebody else, and I just took that and I applied it to selling the land, because you can figure out how to buy it for a builder, you can figure out how to sell it to a builder.
Yeah. And I imagine, going from working for somebody else to, working for yourself and bringing on, growing a team and, managing the company and everything like that. What were some of those early challenges of, you know, being inside of another company and being kind of a role player in that company versus now you're wearing a bunch of different hats, in your own company. What was that transition like for you?
Well, it didn't last very long because COVID shut it down pretty quick.
Oh, the timing. Okay.
My timing was great, and then it wasn't great. So into 2019, rolling into 2020 was really good. COVID took it down to zero. Then it got good again, and then it honestly happened again in 2022 when rates went up. But I think one of the main drivers was just there's no safety net. You either figure it out or you don't. And I think most people will tell you I'm probably not the best team manager because I'm all over the place. But I think I probably work harder than most people at making sure everybody's got what they need, making sure that we do what we have to do. And so building a good team really isn't hard because once you put one really good person in a spot, it just kind of trickles down, I think. And I'm still figuring it out. So
Yeah, I think we all are continually figuring out, learning new things every day. When you look back at, so you've obviously been part of a lot of different projects and deals over the years, and I know, asking this question on the show, a lot of times, a lot of these deals are, there's a lot of privacy around them and things of that nature. So I know you can't necessarily share a ton of details maybe on different projects, but do you have any projects that you look back on and think about those as maybe ones that were a catalyst for the success in your company, or projects that uh, you just recall because they were so enjoyable to work on? Do you have any that you could speak on at all?
Um, I'll pivot on that question and get because over the over time we come across or I'll come across deals that are just really good, and we've been fortunate enough to buy a couple of them. And so there's there's a few that stick out that we bought or that I bought. I usually partner with one other guy who's a developer, local DFW, and we just kind of 50-50 it. But we did a deal in December of 2022. We bought like 240 acres in Heath, which is kind of an affluent submarket on the east side of DFW, kind of equated to maybe similar to like a South Lake. And we just had phenomenal land basis. There was an adjacent 120 acres we got under contract, and it had existing zoning on it from 2006. And so the city had a minimum 1 acre lot size, but we had zoning that allowed for half acres. All the utilities were there, and builders love the half acres more than the acre lots because they build the exact same house on it. That was a very bad time to be buying land because you could not get a loan from a bank. I had no deal flow. Like my whole pipeline went to zero almost overnight when rates started going up. I think the first thing that developers and builders pull back on when the market starts to go, sideways or down is land acquisitions. And so we had a loan in place we're paying half cash and half financing, and we had an equity partner that was going to come in and help us close the adjacent 120 acres. Well, they bailed, and then the bank bailed like a week before closing. So I called the seller, and I was like, because we'd spent 6 months working on it, spent a lot of money already, we had a bunch of earnest money up, and I told him, I was like, I need you to help me out. The deal works fine, but the bank won't give us any money because they're just not lending on land. And so I ended up getting a 50% seller note, 6% interest only for 2 years. I think prime was like 6.25 back then. It was a pretty good deal. And then that thing went sideways probably 20 different times over a 2 year period, year and a half period. But we were able to put the adjacent piece back together again, get all the utility situation figured out, bring in some builders that wanted to buy lots, and then we sold the majority of it and the piece that we had in contract to a developer. And then we rolled some of our money in and bought 42 acres out of the adjacent piece that we're now developing. It's like 24 acre lots for a higher end home builder. And then it got even better because after we closed, we realized that somebody we knew owned like the last vacant lot in the original deal from 2006, and we were able to buy that lot and run utilities through it like 200 feet instead of the mile that we thought we were going to. And we're building a spec house on that lot and selling it. So that one it took a lot of turns, and it was really hard to get done, just market timing and other things, municipalities. But we got through it, and we're developing it right now. So
That's awesome. I love hearing those stories because I think sometimes from the outside looking in, people think like it's a straight line, like from start to finish. And the reality is like all the stuff that happens in between on these projects, it can go pretty crazy. I mean, sure, you can have some projects that are mostly like straight, but yeah, like hearing a project like that where you were able to salvage it, and you're not only salvage it, but turn it into something positive, net positive, is really cool to hear.
it was very difficult, but it turned out well. And I mean, I think it's going to continue to turn out well. It's going to be a great project.
Nice. Well, let's shift into the lightning round section here. So we've got 5 different questions that I'll be going through and just getting a quick answer from you on, or a quick thought from you on each of these. So first one here is, what do you think is the best approach for municipalities and the land development community to find common ground for community growth and development?
I think it's education, probably on both sides. You know, there's always the municipalities that see the developer as a bad developer with a lot of money, and then there's the developers that go in and they are the bad developers. So just understanding what it is that the city wants and trying to fit your project to that. I mean, there's 1,000 things you can do, but I think just trying to come to common understanding of each other's goals is probably the most important.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder too on that, like how, some of the developers that come in and maybe give a bad reputation for developers that then gets the municipalities in a spot where they're maybe less willing to work with other developers coming in who maybe have the best interest of the community. It's just, and I see that a lot too, in just talking to different people about like, how do you, obviously the developer has to, there's a profit motive for the developer. So it's not like,
Mm-hmm.
from the municipality, there can't be any expectations that you're going to have a developer come in and, do something and put in all these extra things that are being asked for, and then, break even on a project or lose money on a project. That's just not reality. And so getting the municipalities to understand like how there has to be a net positive for the developer, but at the same time, having the developers understand as they're coming in, what benefit are they bringing to the community, and helping the community understand exactly what that's going to look like post, project completion.
Well, that's really what drives land values. I mean, if you overpay for the land, not knowing what you're doing, not knowing what the city wants, I mean, it's not going to work. So you just to buy the land right. And then that also, a lot of the deals we do now have to have some sort of public financing mechanism on it, just because DFW is growing so fast, and even in other cities around Texas, they've grown so fast that the infrastructure can't keep up. So the developer has to basically fund public infrastructure
Mm.
to develop it. And so there's all types of reimbursement or financing mechanisms that you can use to basically recoup all those costs back and improve the value to the city. And so those are probably a part of 80% of the deals we do.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
And
it's not like, yeah.
they're really confusing to people if you're not talking in them every day, like, because there's a lot of different kinds, and some are assessments, and some are ad valorem, and some are owned by the city, and some are owned by the district, which is its own municipality and its own set of rules. And so they can be kind of daunting if you go in and you don't know what you're talking about, and then you try to go get it done because you just can't explain it. So that kind of goes back to the education part of it.
Yeah. No, it's interesting how that all works and everything. All right, let's go to the next one here. So, what's something buyers in land transactions often overlook?
What the city wants. Um, what I see a lot of is when individuals or investors go in, because you can make a lot of money if buying land and developing it or entitling it, if you know what you're doing. But a lot of times, what I see is these deals that come to me through a developer investor is they go in and then they do exactly what the city wants, but what they end up doing is handcuffing themselves because they don't understand what their end buyer wants. So you go in and you just take a simple example like Fort Worth. They have A5 zoning, which is a 50 by 100 foot lot, 5,000 square foot lot. Well, they also have a 50% max pad coverage ratio. So if you have a 50% pad coverage ratio on a 50 by 100 foot lot, and you have a 40 foot wide product, you have 5 foot side setbacks. That only allows you to do a 62.5 foot deep pad, which 95% of the builders don't have product for. And so by doing if you just add 10 feet to the lot, you could sell it to 100% of the market. But by not knowing that on the front end and just going for, all right, we gave it base zoning, we're going to max out as many lots as we can, and then you get it done without talking to or understanding the builder end of it, kind of just shot yourself in the foot. They're very hard to sell. I think the same goes for commercial too. You can build a million square foot spec industrial without understanding what your user needs are. I mean, you've got a big problem.
Yeah. All right, third one here. from a leadership standpoint, how do you keep, you kind of touched on this earlier, but we'll ask it anyway. From a leadership standpoint, how do you keep your team on the same page and headed in the same direction?
Communication. I mean, we're always talking, and we don't really have meetings per se, but I mean, you can call me, text me at any time of the day, night, weekend. I'm always available, and really, it's kind of hard because the business is the brokerage business is kind of eat what you kill. So it's at some point you just have to go out and do it. But like we've got plenty of resources and tools to help along the way. We've spent a lot of time and resources building out internal systems and really just databases of information from years of deals that everybody can use and go look at, and I think are very helpful.
Nice. All right, fourth one. What's one personal habit that contributes to your personal success?
I love to work all the time. It's funny because the first 4 years I was married to my wife, we never had a day off together because being in the new home sales side, she works on Saturdays and Sundays. So her days off are like were Wednesday and Thursday, and I had a regular job, and so the weekends I could just go drive land or I could work, and so like 7-day work week for me was just normal.
Yeah,
it doesn't even feel like work. I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, well, I think that's funny because that's the, you think about people's hobbies, or when they ask you if you're an entrepreneur and one of your hobbies is the work that you're doing, then yeah, you're right. It doesn't feel, you actually enjoy it when you're doing it. And it's hard to pull you away from what you're doing because you're enjoying it so much. It's like, why don't you take some time off? It's like, for what? Like I actually enjoy what I'm doing. What am I going to take time off for?
Yeah,
Funny.
it's true. You can get kind of lost in it too. So try to make it a point to go on like extended vacations throughout the year. But even then, my phone still works. So I mean,
yeah. All right, let's jump to the last one here. So, what skill do you think that new brokers should focus on developing in order to be, to build their themselves in the industry?
I think networking is really important, but I think always trying to learn more and educate yourself on really anything you're interested in, because the more you know, the better you're going to be at what you do. And if you don't enjoy doing it, then it's just going to be miserable because you don't anytime you get into brokerage or commission based position. I mean, land especially, like it can take a year to build a pipeline. So you might go 6 to 12 months without making any money. And so you really need to understand that on the front end, and just throw yourself at it. And I think as long as you do it honestly and you have passion for it, and you just get out there and talk to people, you can be successful. And just understand how the whole market works, which takes time. I don't understand it still, but
Yeah,
learn something every day. Yep.
Yeah, cool. Well, with that said, kind of brings us to the end here. For people who are listening in that would like to, connect with you or just learn more about your company, what's the best way to reach out and get in touch?
You can call me or email me. Cell phone 210-844-6029. And my email is rane@rpretx.com.
Awesome. I love this industry because this is like the only industry where people give out their phone and phone and email to do business. I love it. Instead of
makes it a lot easier.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, all you listening in, appreciate you tuning in and listening to this episode, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.